Welcome back to Alley Cat Paint and Design. We're going to continue working on this cabinet that we're building for our trash cans for the kitchen utility area. So what I've done is, I've done a couple of things since our last video. I added the stile on the left and right side. Inside for the stiles I've added some supports, as you can see, little pieces to help give it a little extra grip. I marked the inside where the glides go on both this side and this side. I also went ahead and cut and sanded the top. Now this particular top, pieces of pine put together side by side, and when you do a piece like this, you should have the grain of one go one way and the grain of the next one go the other, and go back and forth. Because what this will want to do over time is it's going to want to bow and buckle. It's not going to want to stay flat. So what I've done is, the prep work for this, these pieces of support board are set down. They're not clear up to the top edge here. And then on the bottom, I've attached these. So what those do is those will sit down to this board, and then we can screw underneath from this board into this board. We have no thread of the screws coming through the top, and then that way we can put 4 or 5 screws in there to help hold it down. But this is glued and screwed to the bottom of this to help keep this from wanting to warp. It should stay flatter longer. So that's what we got there. So technically this is cut and it's been sanded and it's ready for stain. So we're going to stain that. I'm not going to show that in the video. We use paper towels. You can use rags. One thing you should never do with your rags and paper towels when you've applied a stain with it is just throw them in the trash. You should leave them sit out at least for a week. Let that stain dry the best that it can. The longer that it sits in a container all wadded up, it generates its own heat, and it could cause a meltdown or could cause a fire. I don't know how likely those things are, but when you hold the rag in your hand, you can literally feel the heat. When you apply the stain, you go in small circles, and that's to rub it into every little grain possible. I would then personally go back and rub with the grain to be sure that you don't see any circles, swirl marks. And then we'll go over the top of that with a poly. Now you'll see here on the side, I added pieces of trim, and that's for a couple reasons. This stile is awful thin. I didn't want it to be too wobbly, too shaky, because the stiles are what, if you don't put a full piece of plywood at the top and the back and the bottom, this is what would give it some rigidity, keep it from wanting to be wobbly. And these are pretty thin. And then not only that, I made an error and I did not measure the width of the top for our microwave, which is what we're going to be putting on top of this. By adding nearly ½ inch on each side, what I've done is I've added enough length so that our microwave will sit on top without any problem. And we didn't have, especially when this is all finished and in place, you won't see the top sitting over the edge. And here on the inside, where we've got our pencil markings for our glides, need to add a piece of material. So what I did was I took a piece of the plywood, and that is a pretty much perfect depth or thickness. And what we're going to do is we're going to apply this towards the back, pretty much covering our pencil mark, because that's where the glide goes, and we need to be able to screw into that and keep our glide from being too angled. If we make it angled, the glide will stop, or it'll just fall out. The drawer will fall out. We don't want that. So we're going to apply one of these on each side, and then we can apply the glide, and then we can start building the drawer. Alright, so I put the drawer glide in. This is technically where it's going to go. So now I know it's going to stop right here, and it's all the way down here, which is where it's supposed to be, all the way against the bottom stile. And as you get back here, you see it has a bit of a swoop down. That's to help the drawer as it comes in to settle in and not want to roll right back out. My nail gun wasn't working, so what I'm having to do is put screws in. So I've picked screws that are short, so they'll go through the main material and into the next material, but stop. Definitely pre-drill when you go into a solid material like this style, that style, those are oak. You're not just going to drive a screw into that, so definitely pre-drill. That's in there solid, right where it needs to be. Let's flip it over and do it again. Alright, so now that both of the glides are in, we can measure this distance, and that'll tell us how big our drawer needs to be. Let's go 17.5. Okay, so I've got all of my material prepped. These are the pieces that will build the box around the bottom. This is the bottom, and then these are support pieces that will go up underneath that to help support it and keep it from wanting to just fall out of my edges. But I need to cut this to width and make sure my length is still good. Should be, I hope, and then we'll go from there. Okay, so these are the two side pieces that I'm going to use for the left and right side. So they are 1 3/8, and I need 17.5. So I'm going to kind of do this the cheat way, 17.5, and then I'm going to take away 1 3/8. So if I go from my mark, I go inch and 1 2 3/8. That's how big it needs to be right there. So 16 1/16. Just need a nice straight line, so when you look down your board, you should be able to see if it's nice and straight or if it's got waves in it. This one's nice and straight, so I made myself a nice straight line. I'm going to measure twice, cut once, 16 1/16, very good. If I take my line out, it'll probably be just fine. Instead of cutting on this side or this side, if I take the line, I should be just fine. The original measurements that I made this, I made it prior to discovering I did not like my previous measurements, so just like that, and we're going to measure again real quick, 29.5, cut it off. So what we need now, we need to cut our edge pieces for the outside edges and then for the front and the back. So I pre-painted, as you can see. I don't need this side painted. This is where the rail goes on both sides. So we painted the top and we painted the inside, so they're pre-painted. Go ahead and cut this back, get rid of this knot hole, and start back here. So let's cut these and get these ready. Cut those at the same time, but then when it comes to cutting them for this, we'll cut them individually. Whatever you do on this side, you should match it on the other so that then your front and your back will go on easily. Now the front piece will not just stop here, it needs to overlap this side and this side. So this is to the inside, pretty much already painted. So I'll cut it off here, and then it'll go on. So I got all of our pieces cut, they're ready to go together. What I'm going to do is I'll bring these together just like this, and I'll probably put a screw or two from this side into this side, and that'll make our framework for the plywood bottom. And then this piece I will attach to the inside just like that, and the plywood will sit on it, and that's what will give our plywood underneath some strength to keep the plywood from wanting to fall out from underneath. So I got all my holes pre-drilled, pre-sunk. I'm going to use 1 1/4 screws. Got to make sure your material's on a flat surface, or you'll end up with pieces when they come together, they'll be like that instead of nice and flush. So keep that in mind. Keep them on an even plane. Now I need to tack those inside this framework, and then the plywood will sit in there and be tacked to that. With just 3 screws, and it not interfere with the drawer glide, and that it keeps it nice and flush with the bottom of this, then I'll have a nice edge to attach the drawer glide to. There we go. It's down in there where it should be. I'm going to put some screws in to hold it, Well, let's put the drawer glides on. I think I want this side to be the front. So these should go just like that. As you can see, I'm really pressing. I want to make sure that this is up against this piece of material as best as I can. Those are all in, and now, just like any other drawer, like your chest of drawers or anything like that, this should come right in, just like that. Looks like it wants to not quite sit flat. Once I put the door on here and add the weight, and then of course put the trash cans in it. Today we're going to be working some more on our trash can cabinet, and then the cabinets that will also be going in the utility room. But first of all, what we're going to do is, I wanted to show you, this is our top for our cabinet, and you may remember we put several pieces of material up here to help pull our top down. And so underneath our top, you can see we've got boards that go across. Those boards here will sit in those boards that are up there, and then when we put screws in them, they'll pull them down. And these boards that are on the underside of the top will act as a rib to keep all of these boards that are glued together just side by side. It'll help keep them not only flat, keep them together so we don't start to see gaps. So that's what all that's for. Now there's a few extra pieces of material here. These two pieces, I will drill holes in this piece and they will go up inside it. And then back here in this piece, I will drill a couple of holes and they will go inside it as well. And this will act as a barrier to keep the back trash can from wanting to tip backwards. It'll help keep it standing straight up. So pretty simple little construction, nothing big, just like that, and then it'll be stood up and stand up in that back rib right here. So that's that. And then these two guys are going to be added supports for the door, so that when we reach way up here to pull the door and the pressure is clear down here at the bottom, this will give a little bit of added strength so that we don't end up pulling the door off of the drawer. It'll help give it some stability. That's what all those bits and pieces are for. But what we need to do now is we need to get the door on the drawer. As you remember, we pushed that all the way back, and I don't like how this corner pops up, so I'm going to put some weight in here. And then what I think I'm going to do is, once I kind of seat the door kind of where I want it, I'm going to clamp it. I'm going to clamp it on the front here, and then I will go in the back and reach through and make some lines so that I know where this needs to affix to the door. Well, here is the door we're going to put on this. I know that you can't see it too good because I'm too close to it, but this is the door. So what we need to do, once this is prepped and put on the drawer, this and that can all be final painted. As you can see, this needs to be painted. Inside of these need to be painted. And then I'm going to give the outside another good coating, as well as the rest of the stiles here on the face. Give it all a good coating, and then what we're going to do with this is we're going to sand it so that it will take paint. And majority of it will be white, except for either this complete entire area here or perhaps just this edging. We're going to hit it with a gray to kind of accent. But we'll see. I'm not going to show you all that sanding. Nobody needs to see all that. Pretty boring. So I'm going to sand it, attach it to the drawer. And the cool thing about this is the way that I've built this, when it attaches here, I can come from the back and I can put screws through into the stiles of the door, and nothing will come through the front. And that'll give it some strength. I'll probably even, there's a little gap here, I'll probably even fill that little gap with a piece of wood as well for added strength. but that should work really well. I might even come onto this back side even and put a screw in this corner and even in this corner, so that we've got 2 screws on each side, and that'll hold it good and still, keep it from wanting to rock away from the door itself. Once it's on and you go to put the drawer in, the door will stop the drawer from going in any further. It won't be able to. It will stop it here at the face of the cabinet. So let me sand this. You don't need to watch that. And then I will sand or do the finished paint work, and then I'll show you the final, including the top. The top has been stained, and show you what it looks like when it's all finished. So what I did was I put a clamp at the bottom and a clamp at the top, and I kind of adjusted and adjusted until I kind of felt like I had what appeared to be even widths all the way around. And I like where it's at, so now we need to mark the back side of it so I know where the drawer is to the front. Let's look at that. All right, so here we are looking from the back, and we see the drawer down here at the bottom, and we see the door. What I need to do is push down on that corner, make sure that it's all settled down the way it belongs, so that when I scribe the door and then take it all apart, put the door on the door isn't immediately crooked, because the drawer doesn't want to quite sit flat unless it's got weight on it. I'm going to mark it, and then I'll pull it out, take the door off, and then we'll resume the video for the assembly there. So I've got it all moved now, and I got the door and the drawer out, and right here is the line, and over here is my line. So we can see where the drawer goes. So what we'll do now is we're going to mark it again. Now I can definitely see where my bottom line was scribed. And as you can see here, you see this pocket, and you see how the style of the door is right here. So if I drill a hole right here, it'll put a screw right in here into this thicker part of the door, the style. Same thing on this side. A little bit less room to work because it's kind of a little pocket on each side, but it will work. Same thing with the other side. You get it lined up where it goes, and I can make a mark so that I know that's where I can put a screw from this piece into this piece. So I'll have a screw here, a screw on the other side, screw here, and a screw on the other side, and then some of those pieces I cut will come in here and come like this as added angle supports. So I've gathered everything I think I need here. Let's get started. I got 1¼ screws. We want them to come through because they need to go into the door, but we don't want them coming out the front of the door. So 1¼ should probably be enough. What I'm gonna do is I'm gonna drill the holes, all 4 of them, get them ready. I'm not gonna countersink them, because countersinking makes them go even deeper through, and they could come through the front. Let's not countersink, let's just drill the holes. And I think when I do drill them, I'm not going to go in straight, because I'm dealing with this wall here and stuff like that. So I'm going to kind of go at an angle, and I'm even going to angle it out this way a little bit as well. So the screw will be shortened because it's not going in straight. That'll help a little bit too. So I've drilled all the holes, all 4, and I've got the screws pre-started. What I'm going to do is I'm going to put a touch of glue here and here, and this does look like a finished surface, and it kind of is, but it's all been sanded. I sanded all of it to get it ready for paint, so the glue should adhere some. And it's not going to be perfect, but I just wanted a little extra hold. So we're going to stand this up once I get the glue on it, and we'll screw it down, and then we'll worry about the supports, and then the trash can, the holder thing for the back of the trash can. All right, we've got the face attached. The door is attached to the drawer, so now we're wanting to worry about these here support. I took the initiative before we got started, and I cut each end out of 45. The intent is to attach it just like that. One on each side, a screw and some glue, and those will be good to go. So we've got the supports in, so those are going to help the door not become floppy, hopefully take some tension off of that main connection point down there. If these don't work, we will come in later and maybe clear back here. We'll put some in that go up higher to take even more tension off. Let's take a look at this trash can support. Really doesn't matter where it goes back here in the back. It doesn't matter how far over, how even it is. But one thing I will do, put the 2 pieces together, and I'll scribe myself a line just like that on each side, so I know where I'm drilling my holes, just like that. And then I've told you before, use a drill gauge. You take whatever you're going to drill and you put it in each hole until it either fits snug or loose. So this one is snug at 7/16, and I kind of want snug, so I need a 7/16 inch bit. Okay, that was kind of a mess, but I'm not looking for perfection, but I need the dowels to fit, and for them to be kind of snug, I'm gonna put some glue in there. But beyond glue, I'm not gonna worry about nailing or screwing it. And then when it's in here, I just need it to keep from making that, or helping that trash can to not want to fall over. There's the trash can holder. Last thing is on the door here. I'm gonna drill the holes for the handle. We're gonna put a handle on here so that we pull it out. We don't have to dig to the side to get a finger grip. So I'm gonna drill the holes. Then what we're gonna do is we're gonna finish all the painting, anywhere that it may need some painting, some touch up. Now to drill a hole at the top, we either need to find the middle and work our way out from there for each side of the handle, because we've got a pull in this instance, like a handle with two connections instead of just a single knob, or we can measure from this end to that end and from this end to that end and find our middle, and then same thing with from top to bottom, but we've got to find our position up here. Where are we going with it? I'm gonna pre-drill the holes so that when I go to paint, I then don't have to drill the holes and mess up the paint. If we were doing a whole kitchen, 17, 20 cabinets that all needed handles, I would probably create a jig that would tell us where to put it. You know, you put the jig on there, you mark the jig, and then you drill the holes. But since we're only doing one, I'll just worry about the individual. I've got my pencil marks made. I just need to drill on the centers. What I'll do is I'll probably drill the holes slightly bigger than the screws. It's not going to hurt for the screws to have some wiggle room, as long as the hole is not so big that from the back the head wants to come through. It'll hold just fine. That gives me some room if I'm a little bit off, that I don't have to have 100% accuracy, you know, because otherwise the screw will come through and it will not meet the back of the handle. But that looks pretty good. So if I use a slightly bigger drill bit than the screw requires, I'll probably be just fine. There it is, just needing a final paint job. Alright, so welcome back to Alley Cat. We're getting ready to finish the two upper cabinets that'll go above our trash can cabinet and our washer dryer. But there's some things you got to think about here. You see these holes inside here, they hold these clips, and once the clips are in place, the clips hold the shelves that go in there. So we've got to copy those, and so what I've done is I've made a jig. I go through and I made a piece of wood that is the length to fit inside the cabinet, top to bottom, and then I set it inside here and use the pencil to mark the holes, use the square to square the holes across the material. Then I used the square, made a mark on my square so that I would go back and make each one the same in the middle of the wood, and then I drill the holes. Then after you drill the holes in your jig, then you've got to drill them in your shelf. As you can see, I have a clamp. I have it clamped on here. But part of the reason you jig is so that you get the holes uniform. But you also need this so that when you drill the hole, your bit doesn't come through the outside of the cabinet. Also, let's not forget, again, we're dealing with cabinets. This is not what we're considering the bottom. This is. So we have to measure from here in, we have to measure from the face back so far, and we have to measure from the back in. So what I've done is I've done that. This is 1 3/4 is where the bottom of my jig should begin. I should at a minimum come in 3/4 of an inch, and what I've done is come in another 3/4. And that's just for the back. The front should come up 1 1/4, and then from the front to the back 1 1/4. So I'm going to come in a little further than that. Since I moved this piece of wood, let's take a quick look. Still 1 1/2, and that's barely over 1 1/2. So I'm okay with that. Let me go through and pre-drill these. Then we'll move the jig over and I'll pre-drill the back ones. Some might ask, how do you know that you're drilling properly into your material when you can't see because of this block or even this block? But you will know, you will see material come up out of the hole, and then this block will sweep it away once this block meets this material. I don't know how well you can see that, but that's what you see and you feel. Now these holes match those holes inside there. So when we take this and we flip it right up, and it goes just like that, the holes up here line up with those so that our shelves aren't skewed. I'll do it again to the other cabinet, and then I'm going to scab on a piece of trim on here. Okay, this is the second part of that same cabinet. Came from the same cabinet, same size as the cabinet, and as you can see, our holes line up just like they did on the other one, but we got to keep in mind which is the bottom. This should be bottom because this is the right side. If we cut the cabinet in half, now it's laying on its side. Once we stand it up and separate it, this is the right, so therefore this is the bottom. So again, coming from the bottom, we need 1.25 inches on both front and back, and then we need so much distance from the front to the back and from the back to the front. Let me clamp it. I'll drill those and then we'll move it to the other side. All the holes are drilled. Should be ready to go. We're going to flip it over, put it on top here. We're going to tack it down, and then I told you about a piece of trim. This middle piece still had holes so that on the inside of the cabinet, one of these could be put on this middle stile to help hold shelves. And we don't want these indentions to be seen. Now you could either fill them, sand it some more, whatever you want to do to get rid of them, maybe even put it back through on the table saw, whatever it might take. We don't want to do all that, so we're just going to put a simple piece of trim on. It's actually like a piece of chair rail, flat back chair rail. That'll cover it right up. Once this is finished, we're going to paint this outside and the bottom and the other side gray. We've decided to leave the inside of the cabinets completely. We're going to paint this and the face and this and the face all the way around white, and then the cabinet doors, kind of to go with the trash can cabinet door, will also be white with white in the middle but a gray edging to kind of tie that in, because a lot of the kitchen is gray and white. Well, here we go. We've got the cabinets all painted and finished up. You can see the walls here are gray, but the walls in our back recessed area here for our laundry area are white, but the cabinet have gray accents, so it's not just a whole bunch of white in that area. But this is what they turned out. Side is gray, and then we've got a gray accent on the front. I have not cut the shelves for the inside, but that's okay. Just a little bit of the gray accent to break up that white, and then the gray on each of the doors kind of brings the doors together, and the handles are the same. I hope you enjoyed the how to build or rebuild a cabinet. I hope it answered any of your questions that you have. Please like and share and subscribe to my page. See you next time.